Good evening. It is Thursday, November 21st at 6 p.m. We are at the District Service Center in Cottage Grove, Minnesota. We would like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the land of the Mdewakanton Dakota people. Mdewakanton means dwellers of the Spirit Lake. Our first item on the agenda is roll call. Dana?
Rayan Clark.
Here.
Sharon Van Leer.
Here.
Eric Tessmer.
Here.
Pat Driscoll.
Here.
Melinda Doles.
Here.
Simi Petnaik.
Here.
Katie Schwartz.
Here. 2.0, Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Is approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ryan, seconded by
Simi.
Cindy. Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 4.0 is comments to the board. We do not have any this evening, so we will move on to 5.0, and that is our consent items. All consent items are considered routine and non-controversial by the school board and will be approved by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. Prior to this meeting, board members have had the opportunity to review each of these items and may have requested for any item to be removed to an action item for consideration. That did not happen this evening, so can I get a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Melinda, seconded by Simi. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, on to 6.0, and that is our information items. We do have one item on the agenda tonight, and that is 6.1, and that is our high school course catalog, and that will be presented by Christine Schaefer, Assistant Superintendent.
Good evening, School Board Chair Schwartz, School Board Member, Superintendent Nielsen. We are here tonight to review our high school course catalog and share any additions that have been made to that course catalog. As you're aware, this is a catalog of all of our high school courses for our comprehensive high schools and our online high school. So you may be thinking, school year just started and you're already planning for next year, and yes, we are, and here's why. Our high schools have been preparing for the last couple of months for the registration process to begin for the 25-26 school year, and that'll start in December. So therefore, it's important that our course catalog is finalized by the end of November so that in December, we can start meeting with students. So starting in December, students get information related to registration, and they will start that process. In January, our high school counselors go to our middle schools and share the information with 8th grade, and they also go to our high school classrooms and talk through the registration process. And then in January, students start to register, and that is completed by the end of January. And once that's completed, our high school administrators will begin creating their master schedule and looking at staffing for the 25-26 school year. So, as you can see, the process of course scheduling, master scheduling, and staffing is really a year-long process at our high schools. So before we review the course catalog, I'd like to review quickly the graduation requirements, and I know you've seen these. These are not new, and these are mandated by the Minnesota Department of Ed, and so you can see we have 4 years of language arts, 3 years of math, 3 years of science, 3.5 years of social studies, 1 trimester credit each of health and phy-ed, 2 trimester credits of fine arts, and then a minimum of 22 elective trimester credits. The change in the new legislation is that this year's current 9th graders will be required to take personal finance, and that will be added so starting with this graduating class of 2028, they'll need 67 credits to graduate. And we have not added that yet. We are waiting for the framework from MDE to create that course, and Mark's going to talk a little bit about that. So as you can see, with 66 required credits to graduate, when they take 4 years of classes with us, 18 credits per year, they can actually earn 72 credits, so they have a bit of a buffer in there. So that's how that works. All right, so with all that background information, I'd like to introduce Mark McElmoyle, the Director of Secondary Teaching and Learning.
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Schaefer. Good evening, School Board Chair Schwartz, School Board members, and Superintendent Nielsen. It's great to be with you tonight. Excited to come and share the new changes to the 25-26 course guide. As a former high school principal, it's an exciting time of the year because schools are really focused on trying to create the best learning experiences right now, but they've also pivoted and they're planning really actively for the next school year. As Assistant Superintendent Schaefer indicated, we're going to start with the big picture in mind and look at some of the legislation that's guiding our work towards 26, 27. And I'd like to give you an update on each one of these, if I could, please. First is the personal finance. We will offer this course as a trimester course in 26, 27. And it's because MDE just released a framework this fall with those details. We need to gather more feedback from principals and departments and other interested parties to find out exactly where that course will land in which department and evaluate the existing personal finance class that we have to make sure that we meet all those requirements. Secondly, we have the government and citizenship requirement. It requires students to complete a course for credit in government and citizenship within the current social studies credit requirements. And our long-standing 12th grade class in social studies covers these requirements. Thirdly, we have the ethnic studies component. This requires high schools to offer an ethnic studies course aligned with state social studies standards by the 26-27 school year. And we're awaiting a framework from MDE on this course. What we do know is that this will be needs to be a standalone trimester course that's an elective offering. There's a legislative working group currently on this, and we'll be awaiting further guidance from that group. Next is the American Indian Culture and Language class. This is an expectation that was outlined in the American Indian legislation passed in 2023. It indicates that if Indigenous students over a certain threshold in terms of percentage of population of our student population, that we are to offer a language and culture classes. TLS is currently working with our Indigenous education coordinator to look at the logistics of this and how we would offer potentially 2 different classes, Dakota and Ojibwe language and culture. There's currently no specific date indicated in terms of implementation for those courses, but it is a conversation and planning that we're having currently. Next is the requires school districts to offer, as part of the social studies curriculum, education on the Holocaust and genocide in middle school and high school curriculum by the 26-27 school year. Again, we're awaiting further clarification from MDE. There's a legislative working group on this as well. We currently meet these standards and requirements based on the 2011 and the 2021 social studies standards. But again, we're awaiting those specifics to make sure that we're covering all of those requirements. So with that, that's kind of the macro as we think about teaching and learning secondary, what's guiding our work and looking farther out. But now we get to talk a lot about next year, which doesn't seem that far off. We've been talking about 25, 26 for about 6 or 7 months now. Let's take a look at some of the courses. First of all, our course guide. Let's have a reminder that our strategic plan really calls out the student experience. And I think one of the special parts about the student experience is the wide variety of offerings that we get to offer our students across our high schools. We depend on our administrators for being in tune with our student interests, our teachers, and of course our students for sharing their ideas, and then we work our best way to put those elective options in play. So, without further ado, just taking a look at the process, it really is a sprint, as Assistant Superintendent Schaefer said, in the fall, right? So we come back and we get all these new course proposals from staff at the beginning of October, and immediately we get to work in a committee of principals, high school principals, Assistant Superintendent Schaefer, and myself, in evaluating those course proposals. We make decisions on those, and they get into the course guide for the 25-26 school year. From there, we're busy getting those registration materials printed and out to middle schools and high schools, and we're already into those information nights and opportunity nights in January. And then in February, the students are registering for the next year. So I always say that with a smile because it's just amazing, the planning that goes into the next school year. So now I'm excited to share the new courses that have been added for the 25-26 school year. You can see here that there are a couple different options for students in the Family and Consumer Science department. We have some concurrent enrollment options there, personal and family living and lifespan development. We have a new English language arts class, filmmakers and film masters, movies as narrative art. And then we have several online options that will be added, spanning several different departments across our district. We also have brick and mortar engineering classes that will be added, and technically, just for your own purposes, as you're looking at this slide, know that we could say it's creative design and engineering A, but B and C could be separated here because those are 3 separate classes in career and tech ed. We're also adding AP Spanish, AP French, Fine Art, Photography C, Art and Artists of Europe, Robotics 3, and Project Lead the Way, Computer Integrated Manufacturing. So a real variety in a lot of different departments for students in this upcoming year. Something we have our eye on is we know, and it's been such a pleasure getting to know, as a high school principal, to know our high school principals and the staff in each one of these buildings. They need to be in tune with what the students are really interested in and what's relevant to them. And they do a great job when they come through the course proposal process of being in tune with what students are really after. But we're going to spend time this year looking at, are there even more intentional ways that we can leverage student voice in the course proposal and the course offerings that we put in the next course guide a year from now when we're having this conversation. So we have a great student ambassador group, from your work with them. And we also have other technology platforms that we could crowdsource ideas and expose students to real life crowdsourcing that takes place in industry. So we look forward to partnering. We've got really talented principals, and I'll really lean into their ideas as well. With that, I'll turn it over for questions, but thank you. It's a good opportunity to come and be able to speak to some of the new courses. So I appreciate your time tonight.
Yeah, I have a question about the courses. So you said the requirements, there's going to be more credits that students will be required?
The personal finance course.
Okay. I'm just wondering if you can clarify like how that would fit in as opposed to like if you have the high achieving students that are taking the AP courses, which a lot of them already are a semester more or a trimester more than the other ones. And if they're also wanting to take language and arts like, band, orchestra, or choir, how they would be able to fit that in. Because I know a lot of them are already having to take like that extra gym course in the summer.
Yep.
If this is something they would have to
Yep.
take on their own time or how they would fit that in.
Yep. Well, first, remember, this isn't something that we had a choice, right? This is legislatively mandated. But I think if you were to ask our high school principals, they feel like our seniors, a lot of seniors have a lot of space in their schedule. So we have some 12th graders that really all they need to take is English 12 and economics, and the rest are electives. So I do hear you that students that are taking AP and orchestra and all of those things might have a tight time, but we really feel like we could require a lot more for our 12th grade students, and that's probably where this class is going to land, 11th and 12th grade, and it will fit without a problem. And I know there was another question about students taking an overload or taking additional classes. We offer 6 courses during the school day, so they couldn't take another class with us, but we have no parameters around. If a student takes a course at night online or in the summer online, they pay for those on their own, and we do have many students that do that, and we take those when we accept those credits onto their transcript. So many times students do choose that option. I know last summer for the first time, our SoWashCo Online offered some summer courses that students could take so that we could offer those too. And we had, I think Nick said, about 40 students that took a math class or took something in the summer so that they could free up their schedule. So, and we will probably open up those offerings to your point of if we have students that can't fit it all in, they could choose that as an option too.
And Christine, that's how our some of our students are taking their Phi-Ed course in the summer.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
registering and paying for that
Yes.
overload.
Yep.
So this finance course might potentially be offered online too, where they could take that?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes. Yep.
And then in terms of the extra social studies classes, so you said that the course for credit in government and citizenship counts with our current government class already satisfies that. So what is the intent behind the new, how is that new law supposed to fit in or because I thought if government is always been required, it's a graduation requirement, correct?
It already is, yes.
So what is different about this new requirement? Do you know?
Yeah. So keeping in mind that when we have direction from MDE, we're bringing the entire state up to a certain level. And so all we're saying is our existing course meets the requirements that were already outlined in the legislation.
Okay, so we don't have to do any, like,
No.
this is, we have
The
already
12th
met
grade
the
class,
requirement, okay.
yes. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I have a quick question. With regards to, you had mentioned that the MDE was putting forth guidelines, or you're waiting for those guidelines for some of the new courses. Do you have any idea when those guidelines would be available, or when they would be out?
Yeah, we currently don't. We have a teaching and learning secondary staff that sit in on all of the meetings, and they just, often the language is soon. The legislative working groups are working on them. There's not a specific date when we receive those.
So I assume that with the MDE, did they put out guidelines for every course in for all high schools, or how does that, or just new ones, or how does that work?
Just these new ones. I mean, there are parameters around some of our required classes, but not all classes, no.
Okay. They've done this before, though? They've put out guidelines for new courses that have been added or required in high school?
Yes.
What, can you, I don't know if you can answer this, but is there a way that you can speak about, I guess, what those you've seen out of guidelines in the past as far as how they categorize what the courses need to include, that sort of thing?
I can't speak to specifics, and I don't know, Mark, if you can, but I do know they have a working group with people across the state and educators from across the state that put those together, and I don't know if you have any more information about that.
No, I don't, no. We haven't seen the frameworks yet, so it would be, I certainly is something that we can come back and report to the board about.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm interested in,
Yep.
because I would like to know, I guess, what, for example, what topic matters
Yeah,
are required to be discussed and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And-
Is it,
In
I'm
a
sorry.
specific course, or? what are you
No,
referencing?
I mean, just in general, I guess I'm just interested in how they lay these types of guidelines out, because I would like to know how narrowly, they construe, like, you're required to teach this specific topic within this course, or are you not, that sort of thing.
Okay.
I don't know if that, Julie, maybe this question is for you, but is that something that you could provide to the board?
Absolutely. I think what I hear you asking, Eric, is what are those standards for the different courses?
Yeah.
And so like elementary, we have all the standards, and those standards come down from the Minnesota Department of Education. So yes, and I think we also have to remember that this legislation was passed June 30th, July 1st, and so there are working groups, and once we have that information, I'm happy to pass that along, so board members can see what those standards are in those required courses.
One other question, about the brick and mortar classes, how do students know what school they're at, right? Like if a student is like, oh, this personal and family living class is really interesting to me, is that something that gets offered across all 3 high schools, or how does that work?
It's specific in the course guide. It'll say right next to the course which schools
Which
they're at.
school, okay.
Yes. Yep.
So if a student wants to take a course that's offered at a different high school, do they have to then, transit to another school to take that course?
Right now, we do not have students that do that. If we see that there are students at a particular brick and mortar school that want to take something, what we've been doing is offering it online. So we have many classes offered online that maybe we're having a hard time finding a licensed teacher to teach, that we'll put online with that teacher so that anyone can take it.
Fair.
All right, any other questions?
Okay, seeing none. Thank you. Oh,
Thank you.
I wish I could enroll.
thank you,
Thank you
Mark
very
and
much.
Christine. Okay, moving on to 7.0 action items. 7.1 is proposed policy changes, and that is presented by Julie Nielsen, Superintendent.
Thank you. This evening, I am seeking approval for the 8 policies that were brought forth to our last board meetings. Those policies include one 600 series policy, that's 620 credit for learning, and we talked extensively about that one, as well as 7 policies that fit in the 700 series which deal with our budget. Establishment of the school district budget, modifications, fund balance, accounting, annual audit, investments, and acceptance. At our last board meeting on November 7th, there were no other comments or feedback, and so the policies are moving forward as presented, and this evening I am asking for approval of those 8 policies.
Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Sharon, seconded by Eric. Any comments? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We will move on to 7.2, calendar for the 2025-26 school year, and that will also be presented by Julie Nielsen, Superintendent.
Thank you. Again, the proposed calendar was brought for information to the board on November 7th. This evening, I am bringing it forward, asking for approval. As you can see from your board cover report, the calendar has been vetted through various groups. We also had a steering committee that reviewed it. As was shared last time, our calendar just had very slight alterations, but looks very similar to last year's calendar. And this last week at our all-district advisory meetings with our district advisory groups, we also had the chance to share the calendar with them and gather any feedback. And overall, the calendar was very well received and there were no questions. So this evening, I am asking for approval on the 25-26 K-12 school calendar.
Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, seconded by Pat. Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We will move on to 8.0, and that is our superintendent report.
I feel like I'm going to slow it down a little bit because we've got to be here for at least 30 minutes, I think. No. For the students' sake out there who have this as a course project, right? Just a couple of updates. Our construction projects continue across the district. To share with the board that, gosh, was it Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday? I think it was Monday or Tuesday. We had a meeting at Park High School with the city of Cottage Grove, and that was by invitation so that neighbors around the school could come and see the plan for the road. While it was not well attended, we had a lot of administrators there prepared, but the individuals that did attend shared good information and I think felt very positive about how the roads and how the system of traffic flowing in and out of the school was going to work. Secondly, we had our first our student district youth ambassador group meeting. And so starting in December, we will have our wonderful students sitting next to me. So that will start at our next meeting, December 12th. And then finally, Tuesday, December 26th will be our last student day. Students will be off next Wednesday, and they will be off the following Monday for a teacher workshop day. So just as a reminder, as families look at the calendar. And then finally, it is that season of lots, not a lot, but lots of concerts from band to orchestra and choir. Almost every single night, there's some music event happening throughout the district. So please, anybody viewing, be sure to take those concerts in. Our students are just incredible. So thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, on to 9.0, future meeting dates. We have one meeting in December, so that will be December 12th. And that is our business meeting, and it will be here at the District Service Center at 6 p.m. And then on January 2nd, we will have a school board business meeting to go through the first of the year priorities, and that is at the District Service Center at 6 p.m. And then immediately following that meeting, we will have our workshop meeting also on January 2nd. With that, 10.0, and we are adjourned.
Wow, 2 meetings in a row.